The alarm bells rang through the bridge of the UES Defender like screaming metal birds. Captain Jake Morrison jumped from his chair as red lights flashed across every screen. The communication officer, Lieutenant Amy Rodriguez, turned toward him with wide eyes filled with fear. "Sir, we're getting distress signals from 12 colonies at once," she said, her voice shaking. "They're all human settlements in the Outer Rim." Jake ran his hand through his dark hair and moved to the main screen. The star map showed red dots blinking like angry eyes across a vast section of space. New Kansas, Haven Prime, Liberty Station, Grandview Colony, and 8 other worlds where humans had built new lives among the stars. "Put the first signal through," Jake ordered. The speaker crackled to life with static and terror. A woman's voice came through, broken and desperate. "This is Governor Helen Martinez of New Kansas. Unknown ships in orbit. They're not responding to any communication, or just ... waiting. Something's wrong. Very wrong. We're seeing energy readings that don't match anything in our databases." The signal cut to static. Amy tried the next colony, Liberty Station here. "Massive alien vessels surrounding our platform. They look like nothing we've ever seen. Black metal ships shaped like daggers. They're scanning us." God, they're scanning everything. Every person, every building, every piece of equipment. That signal died too. Amy's fingers flew over her controls, trying to reach the other colonies. One by one, each signal ended the same way. Fear, confusion, and then silence that felt like death itself. "Set course for the nearest colony," Jake commanded. "New Kansas. Maximum speed." The Defender and her escort ships jumped 2 faster than light travel. The journey that normally took 3 days passed in 6 hours of emergency flight. When they dropped back into normal space near New Kansas, Jake felt his heart sink into his stomach, where the green farming world should have been. Only a ball of glass floated in the void. The planet's surface glowed with a sick yellow light. The oceans had boiled away. Continents were smooth sheets of melted rock. 7 million people had called this world home just hours ago. Now there was nothing but silence and glass. "Run a full scan," Jake whispered. Amy worked at her station, tears running down her face. No life signs. No radiation that would suggest. Nuclear weapons. The entire planet has been heated to exactly 2,000 degrees. Every organic molecule has been destroyed. Even the bacteria in the soil is gone. Dr. Kevin Walsh, the ship's science officer, looked up from his readings with confusion and horror. "Captain, this isn't just destruction. This is sterilization. They didn't just kill everything on this planet. They erased it. They removed every trace that humans ever lived here." The fleet moved from colony to colony. Each world told the same story. Perfect, complete destruction that left nothing behind but dead rock and empty space. No survivors. No ruins. No proof that humans had ever built cities or farms or dreams. On these distant worlds, at Haven Prime, they found something different. The planet still lived, but barely. The aliens had left one small area untouched. A single building stood on the surface, broadcasting a signal into space. "It's a message," Amy reported. "Broadcasting on all human frequencies." The main screen flickered to life. A creature appeared that looked like a cross between a lizard and a machine. Its skin was dark metal, and its eyes glowed with cold blue light. When it spoke, its voice sounded like grinding gears. "I am High Commander Thekvar of the Zelathi Empire. Your species has been judged inferior and marked for termination. We have eliminated 43 of your outer colonies as a demonstration of our power. 7 million of your kind have been removed from existence." Jake clenched his fists as the alien continued speaking. "You will evacuate all remaining human worlds within 7 rotations of your home star. Those who comply will be allowed to die peacefully. Those who resist will face the same fate as your colonial settlements. Your technology is primitive. Your defenses are meaningless. Your species ends now." The message repeated again and again. The same cold voice delivering the same death sentence to humanity. "Send an emergency transmission to Earth," Jake ordered. "Priority Alpha, Tell them what we found. The journey back to Earth felt like traveling through a nightmare. Every stars seemed dimmer. Every empty patch of space might hide alien ships waiting to bring death. When they finally reached home, Jake found the entire human fleet gathering around. Earth like metal sharks circling wounded prey. Admiral Paul Henderson met Jake in the war room deep beneath the surface of Earth. The old soldier's face looked like it had aged 10 years in the past week. Around the table sat the leaders of humanity's military, science divisions, and government. "How bad is it?" Paul asked. "Worse than we thought," Jake replied. "They didn't just attack our colonies, they erased them completely, as if humans had never lived on those worlds at all." Dr. Lisa Chin, the head of human weapons research, leaned forward. "What kind of technology could do that?" "Something far beyond what we have," Dr. Walsh answered. "They heated entire planets to exact temperatures. They destroyed every piece of human DNA, every tool we made, every building we built. It's like they have a weapon that can remove all trace of a species from a world." Admiral Henderson stood and walked to the star map on the wall. Red markers showed where human colonies had been. Now, they were just empty space. 43 million people, he said quietly, gone without a trace. "And they're giving us 7 days to abandon everything we've built among the stars. What do we do?" asked General Carol Brooks, commander of Earth's ground forces. Paul looked around the room at the faces of humanity's leaders. Each one showed the same mixture of rage and despair. Their species had spent 300 years spreading across the galaxy, building new worlds, reaching for the stars. Now aliens they had never met wanted to wipe them from existence simply because they existed. "We have 7 days to decide the fate of our species," Paul said. 7 days to choose between extinction and survival. 7 days to figure out how to fight an enemy that can erase planets. Jake thought about the empty worlds, the glass where forests had grown, the silence where children had laughed. Somewhere in the darkness between stars, the Zealothi ships waited to finish what they had started. "Sir," Jake said, "what if we don't give them the war they expect?" Paul turned to look at him. "What do you mean? They expect us to run or fight? What if we do something else entirely?" The room fell silent as humanity's leaders considered options that might save their species from becoming just another extinct race in the Zealothi Empire's long history of conquest. The silence began at exactly midnight, Earth Standard Time. Every human ship in space went dark. Every communication channel fell quiet. Every trade route that had carried human goods across the galaxy stopped moving. In less than 12 hours, humanity vanished from the known galaxy like smoke in the wind. Admiral Paul Henderson stood in the command center buried 3 miles beneath the Rocky Mountains. Around him, screens showed empty space where human fleets had been patrolling just hours before. The most active spacefaring species in the galaxy had simply disappeared. "Status report," Paul said to his communications officer. "All ships are in position, sir. Radio silence is complete. Every human vessel, station, and colony is off the grid. As far as any alien scanner can tell, we no longer exist." The plan was dangerous and required perfect timing. Every human in space had received the same coded message: vanish without a trace. Use the stealth technology that humanity had been developing in secret for decades. Make the galaxy think that humans had already evacuated or died. Dr. Lisa Chen worked in a laboratory complex so secret that it did not appear on any map. Her team of 50 scientists had been given unlimited resources and one impossible task: create a weapon that could fight an enemy, capable of erasing entire planets. "The theoretical calculations are complete," she told her assistant, Dr. Kevin Walsh. "It should be possible to build a device that targets specific genetic markers across galactic distances." Kevin looked at the equations covering every wall of the lab. "You're talking about rewriting the laws of physics?" "Not rewriting them," Lisa replied, adjusting her glasses, bending them. "If we can manipulate quantum particles at the subatomic level, we can create a field that exists everywhere in the galaxy at once. A field that can identify and eliminate specific genetic patterns. That sounds like magic." "So did faster-than-light travel 300 years ago," So did artificial gravity. So did energy shields. Humans have a talent for making the impossible become routine. While Lisa worked on her weapon, Commander Tony Walsh led a different kind of mission. His team consisted of humanity's best spies, scouts, and infiltrators. Had one job: learn everything about the Zealoty Empire. Tony's ship, the Shadowrunner, was invisible to most sensors. Human stealth technology had advanced far beyond what they had shown to other species. While the galaxy thought humans were primitive, they had actually developed ways to hide entire fleets in plain sight. Target acquired, reported Sergeant Nancy Lee, Tony's second-in-command. Zealoty patrol ship, 3 crew members, light armament. Remember, we observe only. No contact. No evidence we were ever here, Tony replied. They followed the alien ship for 6 days, recording everything. How it moved, how it communicated, what technology it used. The data went back to hidden human bases where analysts studied every detail of their enemy. The Zealoty were older than humans had suspected. Their empire had existed for over 3,000 years. They had conquered and eliminated 47 different species during that time. They had turned genocide into a science. They have a pattern, reported Dr. Amanda Foster, the military's chief analyst. They always give their targets 7 days to evacuate. They always leave one world alive to broadcast their ultimatum. They always wait for their victims to run or fight. What happens when species run? Paul asked. They hunt them down slowly, turn it into entertainment. The Zealoty enjoy the chase, and when species fight, they get overwhelmed quickly. Zealoty have weapons that can destroy planets from across star systems. No one has ever lasted more than a few months. Paul studied the reports coming in from Tony's spy missions. The Zealoty Empire controlled over 2,000 star systems. Their ships numbered in the millions. Their ground forces were countless. By every measure, humanity was completely outmatched. But the Zealoty had made one critical mistake. They assumed humans were like every other species they had destroyed. 3 weeks after the ultimatum, strange reports began reaching Zealoty command centers. Scout ships found human colonies completely evacuated but undamaged. Cities stood empty with lights still on and food still warm on tables. It was as if entire populations had simply vanished into thin air. Grand. Admiral Vekfar studied the reports with growing unease. In 3,000 years of conquest, no species had ever responded this way. Where were the fleeing refugee ships? Where were the desperate military attacks? Where were the pathetic attempts at negotiation? Send investigation teams to the abandoned worlds, he ordered his subordinates. Find out where they went. Investigation teams found nothing. No signs of mass evacuation, no evidence of secret escape routes, no trace of where millions of humans had gone. The colonies looked like everyone had just stopped existing in the middle of their daily activities. On Earth, Paul Henderson received reports that made him smile for the first time in weeks. The Zealoty were confused. They had expected either a desperate evacuation or a hopeless fight. Instead, they got silence and empty worlds. Phase 1 is complete, he announced to his senior staff. The enemy thinks we're already gone. Now we begin Phase 2. Deep in the mountain laboratory, Lisa Chen made her first breakthrough. Quantum manipulation field had worked in small-scale tests. She could target and eliminate specific bacteria. From a sealed container without affecting anything else in the same space? If we can scale this up, she told the project team, we can target any genetic sequence anywhere in the galaxy. We can make specific species simply stop existing. What about the ethical implications? Asked Dr. Rachel Stone, the project's ethics advisor. Lisa paused in her work. They erased 43 million humans from existence. They're planning to eliminate our entire species. At what point does survival override ethics? Paul Henderson asked himself the same question every night. Humanity was developing the power to commit the ultimate genocide, a weapon that could make entire species never have existed at all. The moral weight of such power was crushing, but every time he started to doubt, he remembered the glass worlds where human children had played. He remembered the 7 million voices that would never speak again. He remembered the Zealoty message. Your species ends now. The galaxy remained quiet. Human ships stayed hidden in the dark between stars. Human colonies appeared abandoned. Human voices had stopped broadcasting across the known worlds. But Secret bases and hidden laboratories, humanity prepared for war unlike any that had ever been fought. A war where the ultimate victory would not be defeating their enemy, but making it so their enemy had never existed at all. The Zelathi Empire controlled 2,000 star systems and had eliminated 47 species. They had never lost a war or failed to complete a genocide. They had never fought humanity. 6 months had passed since humanity vanished from the galaxy. In her underground laboratory, Dr. Lisa Chen stared at the device that had taken her entire career to build. The Genesis engine looked simple enough, a silver sphere the size of a basketball sitting on a metal table. But inside that sphere was technology that could rewrite reality itself. "Final test is ready," announced Dr. Kevin Walsh, checking the readings on his instruments. "Target sample is prepared." Lisa nodded and activated the device. The sphere hummed softly and began to glow with blue light. In the sealed chamber next to the lab, a sample of Zelathi DNA that Tony Walsh's spies had collected began to change. The alien genetic material didn't just die, it stopped existing. Very atoms rearranged themselves as if the DNA had never been created. "It works," Lisa whispered. "The quantum field can target specific genetic markers and remove them from reality. Not just kill them, but make it so they never existed at all." Kevin ran the scan again to make sure. The sample is gone. Completely. Even the container shows no trace that alien DNA was ever inside it. Lisa felt a mixture of triumph and horror. She had created the ultimate weapon, a device that could commit genocide on a scale that even the Zelathi couldn't imagine. Using it would make humanity something terrible. "Inform Admiral Henderson," she said quietly.
"Oh."
"The Genesis engine is ready." In space, Captain Steve Parker prepared his fleet for the first real action humans had taken. In 6 months, his ships were unlike anything that had existed before, sleek black vessels covered with stealth armor that bent light around them. The new human warships could appear and disappear like ghosts. "All ships report ready," announced Lieutenant Carol Brooks from her position at the communications station. Steve looked at the tactical display, showing 12 Zelathi outposts spread across the sector. These were small research stations where the aliens studied the abandoned human colonies. They had no idea that human eyes watched their every move. "Begin the operation," Steve ordered. "Remember, no survivors, no evidence, no trace. We were ever there." The human ships moved like shadows through space. They struck the first Zelathi outpost without warning. Energy beams lanced out from invisible attackers, cutting through alien shields like they were made of paper. The entire station exploded in seconds, but something impossible happened next. The wreckage of the station began to fade away. The debris, the bodies, even the explosion itself vanished as if it had never occurred. Space looked exactly as it had before the attack. "Stealth mines deployed and activated," reported the weapons officer. "Quantum erasure field is working perfectly." Steve smiled grimly. Human technology had advanced beyond even their own expectations. They could now attack their enemies and remove all proof that the attack had ever happened. The fleet moved too. The next target, and the next. Within hours, 12 Zelathi outposts had been destroyed so completely that they had never existed. The aliens manning those stations simply stopped being, with no record left behind of their deaths. Grand Admiral Vekfar stared at the reports with confusion that was turning into fear. 12 research stations had stopped responding to communications. When investigation teams arrived, they found empty space. No wreckage. No distress signals. There's no evidence that the stations had ever been built. "How does an entire outpost simply vanish?" he demanded from his subordinates. "We have no explanation, sir," replied his aide. "Our records show the stations were constructed and staffed, but when we check those locations, there's nothing there. It's as if they never existed." That Shvar's scaled hands clenched into fists. In 3,000 years of warfare, he had never encountered anything like this. The humans had been silent for months. Their worlds appeared abandoned. Their ships had vanished. Now Zelathi installations were disappearing without explanation. Then the broadcasts began. Every communication, device in Zelathi space received the same signal at exactly the same time. The message appeared on every screen, every monitor, display across 2,000 star systems. A human face appeared, a woman with short brown hair and calm green eyes. She wore a simple blue uniform and spoke in a voice that carried across the galaxy. I am Director Helen Martinez, former governor of New Kansas. You believe you killed me and 7 million other humans 6 months ago. You were wrong. Felt his blood turn to ice. New Kansas had been reduced to glass. He had watched the planet burn with his own eyes. Helen continued speaking. Every human colony you attacked was evacuated before you arrived. Every person you think you killed is alive and safe. We let you believe you had succeeded while we studied you, learned about you, and prepared our response. The image changed. To show the interior of a massive space station, millions of humans worked at control panels and weapons systems. Children played in corridors. Families lived in comfortable quarters. All the people who should have been dead were very much alive. We have spent 6 months learning everything about your empire, Helen said. We know how many ships you have, how many worlds you control, how many species you have destroyed. We know your weaknesses, your fears, and your mistakes. Another face appeared on the screen. Admiral Paul Henderson, in his command uniform. Call yourselves masters of genocide, Paul said with cold anger in his voice. You take pride in erasing entire species from existence. You have eliminated 47 civilizations over 3,000 years, but you have never faced humanity. The broadcast showed images of the new human fleet, thousands of advanced warships that seemed to appear from nowhere, weapons that could destroy planets, technology that made ships invisible and attacks undetectable. We could have run from. You, Paul continued, could have fought you with conventional weapons. Instead, we chose a third option. We chose to show you what true power looks like. The image changed to show Dr. Lisa Chen standing next to the Genesis engine. You wanted to erase humanity from existence, she said simply. We're going to return the favor. But our method is more thorough than yours. When we're finished, you won't just be dead. You will never have existed at all. Dekvar screamed orders to his fleet commanders. Find them! Find the humans and destroy them before they can use whatever weapon they've built. But the human ships were already moving. Invisible fleets struck at Zealothi worlds across the galaxy. Each attack was swift, precise, and left no evidence behind. Entire Zealothi colonies simply stopped existing, erased from reality as if they had never been built. The greatest empire in galactic history was under attack by ghosts wielding weapons that rewrote the laws of existence itself. And for the first time in 3,000 years, the Zealothi knew what it felt like to face extinction. Admiral Paul Henderson stood before the largest gathering of human military leaders in history. Representatives from every fleet, every colony, and every research facility had come together for this moment. The holographic displays around the room showed the Zealothi Empire in real time, 2,000 star systems, where an entire species was about to learn the true meaning of extinction. Today, we end the greatest threat our species has ever faced, Paul announced to the assembled commanders. But we must understand what we are about to do. This is not war. This is not revenge. This is the complete erasure of a species from reality itself. Dr. Lisa Chen stepped forward from her position near the Genesis engine control station. The device had been scaled up beyond anything she had originally imagined. Now it filled an entire chamber deep beneath the Rocky Mountains, connected. 2 power sources that drew energy from Earth's core itself. The quantum field is ready, she reported. We have targeted every piece of Zealothi genetic material in the galaxy. When activated, the Genesis engine will rewrite reality so that their species never evolved, will not die, they will simply never have existed. Captain Steve Parker, now promoted to Admiral of the Shadow Fleet, raised his hand. What about their empire, their conquered worlds, their technology? Everything they built will revert to its natural state, Lisa explained. Their conquered planets will return to their original inhabitants. Their ships will become space dust. Their cities will become empty land. The galaxy will be exactly as it would have been if the Zealothi had never existed. General Carol Brooks looked troubled. The moral implications of this action were considered and dismissed. Paul interrupted firmly. They erased 43 million humans from existence. They have eliminated 47 entire species over 3,000 years. They gave us 7 days to evacuate our entire civilization. There is no moral equivalence here. Paul walked to the main display showing the Zealoty homeworld. Billions of aliens lived on that planet, unaware that their existence was about to end forever. Prepare the final transmission, he ordered. The communication went out on every frequency the Zealoty Empire used. It reached every ship, every planet, every outpost across 2,000 star systems. Admiral Henderson's face appeared on every screen as he delivered humanity's final message to their would-be destroyers. I am Admiral Paul Henderson of the United Human Forces. 6 months ago, you attempted to commit genocide against my species. You believed you had succeeded. You're wrong. Now you will learn what it means to face a species that refuses to die quietly. The transmission shifted to show the Genesis engine in all its terrible glory. Massive quantum field generators hummed with barely contained power. Scientists worked at control stations that could reshape reality itself. You sought to erase humanity from existence. Paul continued. You failed. Now we will show you what true erasure means. You will not die. Death is too kind for genocidal monsters like you. Instead, you will never have existed at all. Reality itself will be rewritten so that your species never evolved, never built an empire, never threatened anyone. Homeworld, Grand Admiral Vekvar watched the broadcast with growing horror. Around him, his staff argued about defense strategies and evacuation plans. But he understood something they did not. There was no defense against what the humans had built. Your empire ends in 60 seconds, Paul announced. Your victims will live again. Your conquered worlds will be free. Your legacy will be nothing but empty space and forgotten nightmares. Dr. Lisa Chen placed her hand on the activation switch. Genesis engine online. All systems ready. Quantum field generators at full power. Paul looked around the room one final time. Every human leader nodded their agreement. The decision had been made months ago, but this was the moment of no return. For every human child who died on New Kansas, Paul said quietly. For every family that burned on Haven Prime, 4. Every dream that turned to ash in your cleansing fires, for every species you erased from history, this is justice. He nodded to Lisa. She pressed the switch. The Genesis engine activated with a sound like reality itself screaming. Quantum fields spread across the galaxy at faster than light speed, reaching every corner of space where Zealoty DNA existed. Effect was instant and absolute. On every world, every ship, every station, Zealoty beings simply stopped existing. But this was not death. It was ontological erasure. It did not fall down dead. It did not cry out in pain. They simply were not, had never been, could never be. The Zealoty homeworld reverted to the beautiful garden planet it had been before their species evolved. The vast cities became rolling hills and pristine forests. The orbital shipyards became rings of space dust. The planetary defense systems became empty space. Across the galaxy, the same transformation occurred. 2,000 star systems that had been part of the Zealoty Empire suddenly contained worlds that had never been conquered. Species that had been extinct for millennia found themselves alive again on their original homeworlds with no memory of ever being threatened. The massive Zealoty fleets became clouds of interstellar dust. Their weapons platforms became asteroids. Their communication networks became silence. In less than 5 minutes, the greatest empire in galactic history had become nothing more than a gap in reality, where something used to be. Admiral Henderson watched the transformation on his displays. Where the star map had shown Zealoty territory, now it showed free worlds inhabited by species that should have been extinct. The galaxy was suddenly more colorful, more alive, more full of different voices singing different songs. It's done, Lisa reported, her voice barely above a whisper. The Zealoty never existed. Reality has been rewritten. Steve Parker monitored communications from across the galaxy. We're getting signals from 47 different species. They're all alive, all free. They remember the Zealoty as nothing more than bad dreams that are already fading. Paul felt the weight of what they had accomplished. Humanity had not just Won a war, they had rewritten history itself. The Genesis engine had given them the power of gods, and they had used it to save not just themselves, but dozens of species across the galaxy. But the power remained. The Genesis engine still hummed in its chamber, still capable of erasing any species from existence. Paul made a decision that would define humanity's future. "Shut it down," he ordered.
What?
"Destroy the plans. Erase the research. This weapon is too dangerous to exist." Lisa looked surprised. "Sir, with this technology, we could become the very monsters we just erased," Paul finished. "Seal the chamber. Let no one remember how to build such a thing again." The Genesis engine powered down for the last time. The chamber was sealed with quantum locks that could never be opened. Plans were deleted. The research was destroyed. The terrible power to unmake species from reality was buried forever. Humanity returned to the stars, but not as conquerors. They explored, they traded, they learned from the species they had saved, and they carried with them the secret knowledge of what they had done and what they were capable of when pushed beyond all limits. The galaxy was free. The Zealothy had never existed, and humanity had learned that sometimes the greatest victory was knowing when not to use the ultimate power.